After about 1 month in the hospital, I was getting worse. The doctors told me there was no chance for me to recover and discharged me to make arrangements to die. After I was discharged from the hospital, I went back to the monastery where the other monks cared for me. I grew weaker and weaker and was lapsing into unconsciousness. I learned later that I actually died for 3 days. My body decayed and stunk of death. My heart stopped beating. My body was prepared for cremation and was put through traditional Buddhist purification rites. Although I faded away in my body, I remember my mind and spirit were fully alert. I was in a very, very powerful storm. A tremendous wind flattened the whole landscape until there were no trees or anything else standing, just a flat plain. I walked very fast along this plain for some time. There were no people anywhere. I was all alone. After some time, I crossed a river. On the other side of the river, I saw a terrible, terrible lake of fire. In Buddhism, we do not have a concept of a place like this. At first, I was confused and I didn't know it was hell until I saw a demon. His face looked like the face of a lion. His body was like a lion, but his legs were like a serpent spirit. He had a number of horns on his head. His face was very fierce and I was extremely afraid. Trembling, I asked his name. He replied, "I am the King of Hell, the Destroyer." The King of Hell told me to look into the lake of fire. I looked and I saw the saffron-colored robes that Buddhist monks wear in Myanmar. I looked closer and saw the shaven head of a man. When I looked at the man's face, I saw it was Uzadila Kian Nikansayada, the famous monk who had died in the car accident in 1983. I asked the King of Hell why my former leader was confined to this lake of torment. I said, "Why is he in this lake of fire? He was a very good teacher. He even had a teaching tape called, 'Are You a Man or a Dog?' which had helped thousands of people understand that their worth as humans is far greater than the animals." The King of Hell replied, "Yes, he was a good teacher, but he did not believe in Jesus Christ. That's why he is in hell." I was told to look at another person who was in the fire. I saw a man with very long hair wrapped on the left-hand side of his head. He was also wearing a robe. I asked the King of Hell, "Who is this man?" He replied, "This is the one you worship, Gautama, Buddha." I was very disturbed to see Gautama in hell. I protested, "Gautama had good ethics and good moral character. Why is he suffering in this lake of fire?" The King of Hell answered me, "It doesn't matter how good he was. He is in this place because he did not believe in the eternal God." I then saw another man who looked like he was wearing a soldier's uniform. He had a large wound on his chest. I asked, "Who is this man?" The King of Hell said, "This is Aung San, the revolutionary leader of Myanmar." I was told, "Aung San is here because he persecuted and killed Christians, but mostly because he didn't believe in Jesus Christ." I looked and saw another man in the lake of fire. He was a very tall man and was dressed in military armor. He was also holding a sword and a shield. This man had a wound on his forehead. This man was taller than any person I have ever seen. The King of Hell said, "This man's name is Goliath. He is in hell because he blasphemed the eternal God and his servant David." I was confused because I didn't know who either David or Goliath were. The King of Hell said, "Goliath is recorded in the Christian Bible. You don't know him now, but when you become a Christian, you will know who he is." Another demon came to me. I also saw a being whose job is to stoke the fires beneath the lake of fire to keep it hot. This being asked me, "Are you going into the lake of fire too?" I replied, "No, I am only here to observe." The appearance of this creature stoking the fire was very terrifying. He had 10 horns on his head and a spear in his hand that had 7 sharp blades coming from the end. The creature told me, "You were right. You came here just to observe. I cannot find your name here." He said, "You must now go back the way you came." I was hot and in great pain. Finally, after walking for about 3 hours, I came to a wide road. I walked along this road for some time until I came to a fork. One road going off to the left was wide. A smaller road went off to the right-hand side. There was a signpost at the fork saying that the road to the left was for those who do not believe in the Lord Jesus Christ. The smaller road to the right was for believers in Jesus. I was interested to see where the larger road led, so I started down it. There were two men walking about 300 yards ahead of me. I tried to catch up with them so I could walk with them, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't catch up. So I turned around and went back to the fork in the road. I continued to watch these two men as they walked down the road away from me. When they reached the end of the road, they were suddenly stabbed. These two men cried out in great pain. I also cried out when I saw what happened to them. I realized the bigger road ended in great danger for those who traveled down it. I started walking down the Believer's Road instead. After traveling for about 1 hour, the surface of the road turned to pure gold. I then saw a man standing in front of me. He was wearing a white robe. I also heard beautiful singing. Oh, it was so beautiful and pure. It was much better and more meaningful than the worship we have in churches here on earth. The man in the white robe asked me to walk with him. I asked him, "What is your name?" But he did not answer. After I asked his name 6 times, the man answered, "I am the one who holds the key to heaven. Heaven is a very, very beautiful place. You cannot go there now, but if you follow Jesus Christ, you can go there after your life is finished on the earth." The man's name was Peter. Peter then asked me to sit down, and he showed me a place to the north. Peter said, "Look to the north and see God create man." I saw the eternal God from a distance. God spoke to an angel, "Let us make man." The angel pleaded with God and said, "Please don't make man. He will do wrong and will grieve you." But God created man anyway. God blew on the man, and the man came to life. He gave him the name Adam. Then Peter said, "Now get up and go back where you came from. Speak to the people who worship Buddha and who worship idols. Tell them they must go to hell if they don't change. Those who build temples and idols will also have to go to hell. Those who give offerings to monks to earn merit for themselves will go to hell. Those who chant and give life to the idols will go to hell. All those who don't believe in Jesus Christ will go to hell." Peter told me to go back to earth and testify about the things that I had seen. He also said, "You must speak your new name. From now on, you are to be called Paul, who came back to life." I didn't want to go back. I wanted to go to heaven. Angels opened a book. First, they looked for my childhood name in the book, but they couldn't find it. Then they looked for the name I had been given when I entered the Buddhist monkhood, but it wasn't written in the book either. Then Peter said, "Your name is not written here. You must return and testify about Jesus to the Buddhist people." I walked back along the gold road. Again, I heard beautiful singing, the kind of which I have never heard before or since. Peter walked with me until the time I returned to earth. He showed me a ladder that reached down from heaven to the sky. The ladder didn't reach down to earth, but it stopped midair. On the ladder I saw many angels, some going up to heaven and some going down the ladder. They were very busy, and I asked Peter, "Who are they?" Peter answered, "They are the messengers of God. They are reporting to heaven the names of all those who believe in Jesus Christ, and the names of those who don't believe." Peter then told me it was my time to go back. The next thing I was aware of was the sound of weeping. I heard my own mother cry out, "My son, why did you leave us now?"